Great. Okay. So thank you for the kind invitation. I'm happy to be here today. Um, Quick introductions. We're going to discuss today a little bit more about a growth engine, how to do prospecting and how to raise interest overall. And then we're going to have a Q&A. But I try to talk broadly and use frameworks that are applicable to many different organizations. But to be honest, some things might be more relevant, as you will see. So I'm George Gatos. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Epignosis. Epignosis is a tech company, software company that does learning software. Companies uses us to train their employees, their customers, their partners, and some companies whose work is to train others use our tool to facilitate trainings on behalf of their customers. Our best known product is Talent LMS. It's one of the top in the world with a lot of several thousand of customers globally. The company started a long time ago, but Talent LMS has been, actually we just celebrate our 10th year. So we've been here for 10 years. And yeah, if you're conducting trainings, please have a look. But before Epignosis that I recently joined, I worked for other companies that you might be aware of. I was one of the co-founders of Incrediblue. That was a marketplace, a B2C marketplace, where we brought together those who own sailing and motor yachts and those who want to rent them, skippered or bareboat. That was the idea, to create the Airbnb of boats back then. And what we did, and how is it relevant to our discussion today, was that we had to go from marina to marina initially, and then obviously find a better way to do it remotely, and convince people to come and join our platform and give their yachts and rent them through our platform. Then in 2016, I moved at Workable. Workable is a hiring platform, a recruitment platform that a lot of companies globally use to hire and hire employees. And there I was the guy who was responsible to build the sales development motion. I started with one person, and at its peak, we had 65 people in that team only, who were responsible to identify who we should talk to and go and talk to them if we were doing outbound, or if these people were coming towards our direction, so inbound, they would do this discovery and qualification first. So very relevant to what we're going to discuss today. Back then, Workable was a completely different company than we do now. It was already a success and an up-and-coming startup from the tech ecosystem, already well established globally. But the way the foundational work we did there influenced the growth of the company in the coming years. I left during COVID, and I joined Toggle. Toggle is a time tracking tool that agencies and a lot of other companies who want to they see it as a productivity tool, so they want to know where their time is going. They use it. Where I was a chief revenue officer until I jumped to Epignosis. What all these companies have in common, especially Workable, Toggle, and Epignosis, they all sold small, medium, and to some extent enterprise deals, and they all started from non-typical tech hubs. So Workable and Epignosis from Athens, Toggle from Tallinn, Estonia. So what I'm saying to do with you today is relevant, and in reality says, like, look, if you have a good product and you have the attitude and the readiness, let's say, to expand globally, you can do it from anywhere. A few more things about me. Advising from time to time, not too many companies, but a few, one or two every given time. Currently actively advising FinLoop and Morphosis. And in the past, Viral Loops. Why I'm saying this is because what I'm going to say today is not only applicable to the companies I just mentioned that I work for, but for other companies that I had the pleasure to help. And I participated in Seed Camp. Seed Camp is a seed funding investor based in London, one of the best known in Europe, and was one of my investors in Incrediblue. And after that, I kept in touch, and I participate in their funds by investing just a little bit of money. Unfortunately, I don't have too much money to invest, but why we do this is because they keep us active. So I'm in Greece, one of the few people who participate in this fund. So if I see anything interesting, I might make an introduction. And they win by having, people all over Europe, and I win if they do well. I return my investment with a good, return. So who is this quick presentation for? First of all, for you to start doing stuff in the way we're going to show, you cannot sell B2C with very small lifetime value. So something like a customer gives you 50, 100, 20, $200, euros, whatever, a year, it's not feasible, right? If it's premature and you're not even sure that your product is needed, at least to the market segment you are targeting, again, maybe what we discussed today is premature. It's good to know, but I would focus on other things before. And then if it's business to business or business to consumer. Now, if you said, George, I'm doing B2C, I have no idea if I have a product market fit yet, and I think I'm going to make $100 per user per year, then I'll say, like, look, sit back, keep some notes. It's good general knowledge. But those who will find the most value is those who sell from Greece products, subscription products that at least gross 5K a year. They have a product market fit, and they are business to business. Why? Because if you're early stage, assuming your average deal size hypothetically is fine, but you have no customers yet, so you don't know if you have product market fit, building a sales motion, a growth motion is premature. You need to know more about your customer. So we're going to discuss, though, about how to find your ideal customer profile. So there's something for everyone. That's what I said. But if you meet all these three criteria, then this presentation is totally for you. The idea here is to create a repeatable and scalable process. So something that scales. In the early days in tech companies and in companies overall, as even in services when there's no product, it's okay to do things that don't scale. Like, to give you an idea, Workable hired its first salesperson who wasn't even a salesperson, but he came from the HR community of London. So in the beginning, he attended all HR related meetups. He was talking, evangelizing a lot about the product. And this is how he got a lot of people excited, who started giving feedback, buying the product, telling their friends. And this is how it started. So you cannot replicate Rob, by the way, is his name. He's still with the company. So you cannot replicate Rob and be like, great, I'm going to get 200 Robs, take them to the 100 major cities of the planet, and boom, this is how Workable, I'm going to have a similar to Workable success. But it was good enough in the beginning to do it, but not scalable. And then repeatable, again, how many tech meetups and events you can go and attend. After a while, the same people will be like, oh, we know about you anyway. So the idea is to do something that it will scale the better you do it. So everyone says, like, you know what, why should it be hard? Can't just customers come our direction and be like, take my money? So they search online, I have a paid advertisement, or even better, an organic post comes first. They do a free trial if you offer one, or they do a demo request or an inquiry, they send an email or whatever, and then we send them an invoice, or they put their credit card and they buy the product. And yes, a lot of them do nowadays. Like a lot of successful companies, use product-led growth. Slack is a good example, where users just find the product, start using it, word of mouth most of the times, or they used it in the previous company, now they want to use the new company, and they go there and they start using it, and then they invite more people, and it has this virality, and at the end of the day, they increase their bill towards you every month, and life is good. But in reality, people want to buy from people, and it is like an assembly machine. It's like an assembly line. So if you would see what the growth engine is and what the commercial growth team looks like, it's like that. You have marketing and, more specifically, demand generation related activities that influence inbound, which is down here, the paid, the owned, and the earned media, that they create leads that a team called sales development a lot of times pick and try to qualify them and see who should be considering further your product, or they should buy self-service or don't buy at all from you, which are directed into a salesperson to initiate the sales cycle by demoing the product, answering the questions, bridging their needs to the value the product will bring, and eventually closing this business that another team called customer success, account management, will help you on board, and then make sure you are retained as a customer and you renew next year. And even better, if you renew to a better plan. And all these teams are supported by a revenue operations, sales operations, call it as you want, team that helps you run smoothly all your tech stack, people's commission, training people, onboarding people, etc., etc. Obviously, this is a really nice machine. A lot of companies, though, do not have the ability to have a good, healthy flow of leads from inbound. So they create this outbound motion where we focus on who we should target, go talk to them, revisit old inbound leads, looking at deals that we lost in the past, and maybe they want to, be reconnected and maybe help us. So today we're going to talk about something that's more tangible you can do with less resources, and test a few things out. So how can we expand globally? How do I raise interest, right? Who cares about what I do? And there are a lot of areas, but as we said, we're going to look at outbound. So who we should target, how many people there, and the hint is a lot of them. How many times should we contact them? The hint is a lot of times. And what are we saying to them? And let's focus on that a bit. Like a lot of companies like Workable or Epignosis, for example, a learning management system, it's applicable to any industry. Like every company wants to train their employees and or their partners and or their customers. So I can sell to the whole planet. This is not the right approach, because you will see, and now we have the data, we know there are industries that makes more sense to do internal training using a tool versus others. Again, there are a lot of people most of the times involved, if not in the decision process, in the influencing the decision process. None of them, by receiving one email from you or one phone call, will just click, unless by accident there was a project internally where they said, like, you know what, we need a tool to train our people. So that's 1 out of the 100. So the rest of the 99 times, you should start raising some interest, and it won't happen with one email and one call or one LinkedIn message, right? It needs a strategy and multiple ways to talk to them. What is the compelling messaging, which is one of the things we're going to look at in a bit. Sorry, we're going to look at in a bit, and it's one of the most important things I want you to take out from this discussion. So, what are compelling events? In a nutshell, is you becoming relevant to the prospect, and not you pushing whatever you want to sell to them. So it's the process of identifying internal versus or external situations, so the events that make a conversation with you relevant, compelling, right? To give you an example, I'm running a commercial organization. Obviously, I have some revenue targets. Obviously, I want to achieve them. So if you find a way, while I'm doing currently my forecast for next year, to find me a way, or to convince me that there might be a way to increase by 10% my revenue with a minimum investment, or with a small tool, I might take that call. If you call me in the summer, we're halfway through the year, we're busy, trying to do the best we can in the year, I'm not already thinking about next year, I might, decline the very same person, the very same meeting, because my mindset is in a different way. So a good salesperson will find compelling events to talk to me, and obviously they don't need to wait until the October every year. They can find other ways why I might be open to discussion throughout the year. And if they fail the first time, then they can try a few weeks or months later with a different messaging and a different compelling event. So these are high priority leads. And the good thing is that they don't know you're looking for them, but you are actually. And you can look at the following areas to find it. First of all, technology. You've seen that people who use a human resources information system, HRIS, typically want to have also a learning management system. So if we go and we find a way to get all the customers of Bamboo HR, which by the way, we have integration, so we have a partnership already, but assuming we didn't, then we're gonna be like, hey, other companies that use Bamboo to onboard and maintain everything regarding their employees want to train them using Talent LMS. You want to chat. Okay, that's one reason to discuss. The other one is like people driven. For example, you follow a few people from companies you like, and then companies you sell already, so your customers, you follow them on LinkedIn, and then one day you see they left the company. First of all, that's a good sign that you might have a churn issue because the new person might not like your solution and want to bring their solution. So account management should be aware of it. But the other also is that, hey, you had a good experience. You used us for 3 years while in company X. I saw you went to company Y. Congrats. When would it be a better time to discuss? So that's another way to find a compelling event. The other one is market-driven legislation, like when GDPR was launched, when COVID happened, was a good also a compelling event. A lot of companies went remote, so they needed a tool to train and onboard people. When competition shuts down, sometimes that's like a black swan event. But I remember again back at Workable, Google had a product called Google Hire, and one day they decided to discontinue it. We had the ability within that day to send a newsletter to people we thought or had good indication they're Google Hire customers. And we were the one actually informing them that it's shutting down. This is the post that they just made the announcement. So yeah, obviously these things don't happen every day, but you need to have your ears and eyes open. And then company-related recent funding. This is the most obvious one, especially if you sell to tech companies. Yeah, the moment they announce a new round of financing, typically this type of money go to in the early stages for human costs, so people hiring, training, whatever, and in later stage on marketing and tech and all that stuff. So depending on where you are, these kind of things are good to know. So making a quick pause, compelling events are the one thing I want you to remember from meeting me today. Like if I could find a good reason to talk to someone and make the discussion relevant to them, I'm already doing 99% better than the competition out there. It's that strong. And to give you an idea, compelling event called emails and calls had a 5 times better conversion. So a cold list, we needed to call and email 100 people to get 2 to 3 responses. We could make them up to 10, 12 some cases. So almost 1 out of 10 or even a bit higher would respond to our outreach. This is how important it is. So how did we decide who to talk to? First of all, prospecting is the first step in the sales process when we do outbound, right? You're like, who should I talk to? You identify your ideal customers, so the prospects, and then you develop your territory. You create a list. Sometimes you do it based on industry. Sometimes you do it based on location. Sometimes you do a combination of the two and any other possible combination, typically based on firmographics, so company size, location, technology they're using, et cetera, et cetera. And then you contact them multiple times, multiple channels, LinkedIn, phone, email, in some cases sending a package, depending again of your average deal size, and any other fancy ways you might find, even attending a roadshow that they're doing, or I'm not stalking them in a bad way. Obviously, don't start liking their Instagram photos from vacation, but do not just email them. And then there are several types, and I say here 3 source types, and I see 4 bullets, so I have no idea why. But where you can see is like, first of all, the compelling event identification. What we did is we typically get interns and we train them and we have them looking for these type of companies, because yeah, it is a bit time consuming to go and check, LinkedIn every day, or, read every industry-related article and stuff like that, but they have the time and they learn, which so it's win-win. We create, the ideal customer profile, and then there are databases where you can find similar companies in, specific territories. We look at their existing database. If you've been around for quite some time, you'll see leads and you get ideas. Okay, this is a good company, horrible contact person in the sense that it wasn't relevant or they're no longer with the company. Who else should I go to? Grow, but if you want to grow to the UK and you have already a few customers, you can first of all grow their business and also ask for referrals and also see if they have a branch in another country. So you have, let's say, Decathlon, the sports equipment and apparel stores in the UK. Why not get the Greek branch and France one, and et cetera, et cetera. So, as I mentioned already, there are two things you need to know. First of all, who you should target. To repeat what was said earlier, because you think you can, every company is doing training, every company is doing hiring, every company is tracking productivity, that Toggle, Workable, and Epignosis can sell to everyone is a mistake. Yes, in an ideal world, you could, but as I said, there are use cases that specific industries, specific company sizes, et cetera, have that make your solution a bit more relevant and a priority or a must-have versus a nice-to-have software, especially in the economic environment where we see some signs of slowdown or worries about a deeper recession. A lot of budgets might be postponed. So yeah, assuming that every industry will have unlimited budget is a mistake. But what are a couple of industries that they will continue hiring or training or tracking productivity regardless of the current situation? Or what if your solution helps them save more money? So yeah, revenue or both. So this is the ideal customer profile, but you need to start doing the exercise. And then who in the company, the persona, who is the decision maker, who are the influencers? And it's really important to understand that users today have more power than in the past. In a lot of companies, not the boss that goes and decides the tool the company is going to use. It's the users that start testing with things or have some experience in a different company. Now they want to bring here where they recommend tools, the tools that are going to do their job. And it's very important that you don't neglect them. Obviously, yeah, if you want to try to, if someone is doing training through a platform, probably they're not the right person. Yes, they are the user of the platform, but probably not the ideal person to sell to. But then there might be a hiring manager, someone in sales, let's say, who hires 50, 100, 20, 200 people a year. They have a clear need to do onboarding. Maybe they never thought that through a product, they can do it better. Now, maybe they have a few PDFs, some presentations, some documents, and they feel they're covered. They don't know that they can take, their training a step, actually multiple steps further. So including them or educating them to help you navigate in the organization, you find the appropriate people in the HR department or in the C-level who might make this purchase a reality is important. So never only think like there's one person, like I'm selling something for engineers, only the CTO. Not necessarily. And then when it comes to sales development, it is not a 0 to 1, 0 or 1. It's not like a black or white. It's not like you either sell or not. Actually, by starting all this process and reaching out to the world and educating them about yourself, ideally, after a few interactions, you book a meeting to discover their needs, show them your product, and initiate the sales process if possible. But it's also good if you talk to them and there's no buying window, and you have the opportunity to gather information about the company and that person that you can use in the future to re-engage with them. And then the worst scenario is that now they know about you. So while a lot of people will be like, oh my God, it doesn't go really well. I thought I could have more customers by doing this. In reality, it's not. And something really important is that you have a CRM, right? A customer relationship management system like Salesforce or Pipedrive or Microsoft Dynamics, or it doesn't matter, HubSpot, where all this information adds up. And after weeks and months and quarters and maybe years of doing this, you have now a database which is an asset for you. And you can do more campaigns, re-engage with people in the past, see who left the company, where they went, and all the things we discussed. So this is a healthy exercise. It's not like, yeah, I'm going to send 3 emails, make 2 calls, and get 10 customers. Sure, I wish you do, but then there's all these other side effects that will continue helping you grow in the future. Yeah, let's keep that. I'm going to share the slides. This is a bit more about like, look, they're highly qualified, so invest more time there. And there's like some less important, so don't waste your time, etc., etc. And yeah, with that, I think I'm on time, 25 minutes, and we're going to start the discussions, get your questions, give any answers, and yeah, we take it from here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, George. So first of all, I want to motivate everyone to ask your questions on the chat, or you can just raise your hand and I'm going to give you access to the microphone. So whatever, if you had any questions on the presentation or anything that you would like to ask that is relevant, please do not hesitate at all. And until we get some questions, I would like to start with maybe that went through my mind while I was listening to you, George, and that the main, like, we listen to all the things that we need to do, right? So first of all, I would like to ask if you can share with us some success stories, some small wins that you have achieved with all these points that you just mentioned.
Yeah, so there are a lot of small wins and a few big ones. In reality, the biggest win is that by having the process, you could see that it's a compounding process. So you start with 1, 2, 3 people and things start moving. And then all of a sudden you see that this is very, scalable, and you hit a certain level where you can predict how much revenue you should be getting in a couple of quarters from today based on how many calls someone did today. And that was super important for us because this way we could, create more jobs, hire more people, train people better, and then start specializing a lot of people. And we've done that in multiple companies now. And it's nothing new, obviously. I cannot take credit. It's just best practices that we, read. And it's happened the last decade or so. And I cannot say specific numbers, but we're talking about tens of millions of pipelines, so opportunities to close, that translated to several million of annual recurring revenue for the companies I mentioned. So something that starts with one person one day can become the main engine of growth for a company that in other cases might have stalled their inbound, for example, capacity. A lot of companies you see, like, to give you an idea, there are a certain amount of people globally every day that search for a learning management system software or a recruitment platform or a productivity tool. So at some point, even if you have an infinite budget and within rational, costs, you bid to be first or like on the top Google results. That's it. You'll get all the leads for the day. So then what can you do? And that was our biggest win. We found a way to, first of all, optimize all the inbound flows, but also find a motion for outbound. And with the compelling events, being able to, as I said, bring a lot of millions of revenue for the companies.
Okay. And we have already some questions on the chat. The first one is from Steen. And the question is, would you advise to hire local salespeople in the markets you're targeting, or where you want to grow in?
Great. This is a great question. So I haven't done it. I worked with companies where we had to do inside sales. You know what I mean? Like what we were selling was assumed that people are comfortable doing business in English. And also, even if they use it locally in the market, they could use the tool, which was customizable, but, in English. And that helped us scale better. Now, in other cases, it makes total sense, where specific legislation is there, where the sales cycle is a bit longer and requires, maybe a lot of not even local knowledge, but also in-person meetings, it might make sense. I prefer, to be honest, to have a team of, let's say, 20 people in Athens than having, 5 teams of 4 people in my main markets in Europe, because it creates more overhead. It's harder to get, a lot of people, then who's going to supervise them. So it has a lot of moving parts. So the efficiency you get by having the local language and some, familiarity with the customs might get lost. On that note, in the US, I prefer to have a team in the US. I hope it covered you.
Yeah, I think so. Then the second question is something that I also had in mind to ask you, which is, what is a typical process of a cold outbound call, let's say, or message or whatever? So, for example, you would send them one email, then you would follow up on the email, then call. Also, if you call, so Alex is asking this question, if you call after a few emails, what's a good way to open the discussion, given that it's a cold lead and you're not introduced to them, right?
There is a great methodology called the Sandler methodology. There is a book about it, how to teach a kid to ride a bike. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike in a seminar. That's I think the title of the book. Anyway, that goes on the cold calling. A lot of people are intimidated by making a phone call. In reality, it is not. What this process teaches you is that this is not personal, it's business to business. And there is an upfront contract, as it's been called, where you call someone. First of all, a typical sales starts like, "Hi, this is George Gatos calling from Epignosis. Epignosis is a learning management tool. We help companies like blah and blah and blah do X and Y and Z when it comes to training. Do you have 5 minutes to learn more?" And the person, the moment they understand it's a pitch, they want to, hang out or find a good excuse. Like everyone is going in a meeting, like, "Hey, sorry, I'm going in a meeting." It's like, no, you're not. It's like 20 to 2. No one goes in a meeting 20 minutes earlier, but it's okay. So what this tells you is like, "Hey, this is George." And you pause. And it was like, or, "Hey, this is George. You're not expecting my call. And you're right, this is a cold call. So if I can take 5 minutes to tell you why I called, I then, let you continue with your day. Is that fair?" So in a way, you try to interrupt the pattern of the sales call, get their permission by giving them an opt-out, like, "Look, it's only 3 minutes, only 5 minutes, only 30 seconds. I'll tell you what, and then I'll continue with your day." So they kind of lower their guards, and then they're open. And then it's like the value proposition. This is the hook. This is the compelling event. You just joined, Alpha Bank, and you were using our product, in your previous role in Eurobank. Do you think it's a good time to talk now? So this way it becomes relevant. So this is how you make a cold call sounding less scripted and more like a human interaction. So Sandler methodology, check it out. It has a lot of videos also on how to, and you can practice. Now, when it comes to how do you do the outreach, it used to be 6 to 7 touches. One touch is one interaction. Email is one. Checking their LinkedIn page so they get the notification tomorrow that they look at it is another one. Sending a request to connect on LinkedIn is another one. So research showed like 4 or 5 years ago, it was 6 to 7 touches before someone was open to talk to you. Last time I checked, I think it was last year, so the years before data, it went up to 12 because everyone does the same, right? And you see technology is also involving where you see people send you an email and only has a thumbnail with like, "Hey George, press this button," and you pray, and has like a 30-second video where the person tells you something about you and what they're trying to achieve and sell to you. So you see that there is a lot of ways to do it. But what I want to say is like, make sure you do multiple touches in a reasonable time frame. So don't do one a week for 10 weeks. Do 10 within 2 weeks. Do 3, 4, 5 in the next 48 hours to, up to a week, a few more, and then give them some space, 1 or 2 then, and then let it, be, and find another way in the future to reconnect with them.
Okay. Then we have another question from Aguilos, and the question is, what is a sustainable rewarding method for successful business development managers?
Rewarding. So typically, sales development teams have two targets. One, how many calls they book with prospects, and how many of these calls turn out to be opportunities. In some cases, there's a third element, which is how much money we made from these opportunities. But because business development not always, most of the times actually, doesn't have power if you're going to close the deal, because maybe the product sucks or it doesn't suck. Okay, maybe the product is not good enough for that person, or sucks. Okay, let's be honest. Sometimes the product is not mature enough, at least for the person who was initially interested, or the pricing is wrong or whatever. They're like, look, I did the job, why I'm not getting compensated? So you have these two parameters, and you give a target on a month or a quarter. You say like, look, you need to bring 100 initial discussions that should end up to 70 opportunities. And if you do that, you make your commission. Typically, it's 70-30. So 70% of your own target earnings is base salary. So you make them every month, regardless how well you do. And then the other 30% is if you hit your target, and has a scale. So if you do above 50%, up to 100%, you get the majority of your bonus. And if you exceed 100%, then you give sometimes twice the money you gave for the up to 100%, to motivate someone to continue bringing more, so they don't keep them like, oh, I'll do it the next quarter. I got my quota this quarter. So yeah, this is how we compensate people, based on 2 KPIs or 3, and by not giving them all their salary as fixed, but by adding a variable. That being said, I'm not saying don't pay people well. I'm saying pay them well, market as a base salary, so they're happy and they can, live a quality life, and then give them this extra motivation to do really well, to make more money.
Okay. Then a question from Nikos is that how can we collect actionable feedback from lost opportunities? So he says that most of the times we do not have visibility into the decision process, right? And then we don't really know why a proposal has been rejected. So he's wondering if we could actually get some feedback on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is, we talked a lot about the how to bring an opportunity. We didn't talk about the opportunity, so that gives us the opportunity to talk a bit more. So to me, an opportunity is something that you had a good discussion, whatever the good means to you, and there is a clear next step. So we met today, Olina, you tell me what you need. I told you how this can be, served probably by our solution. We agreed that it makes sense to have another call where you bring your manager. This is a clear next step. Or we agreed that I'll send you a bit more information about something I wasn't sure about, so I owe you this, and then I'll send you also a one-pager to look internally, or a recorded video. So there is a give and get here, right? I give you something and you give me something in return. And this is an opportunity. The moment the opportunity exists, then there should be there should be next steps. One of the mistakes we do is that we do a call, we discuss pricing, we discuss their needs, we discuss what we sell. Most of the times we do the talking instead of the prospect. So Olina, in that case, should be talking 60 to 70% of the call, not me. And then we said everything and then they're lost. And we're like, what happened here today? Whereas if we have this give and get mentality, and say like, look, Olina, the purpose of this call today, we have 30 minutes. And the purpose of this call is to learn a little bit more about your organization, what prompted you into requesting this demo, and I'll tell you a bit more about us. And then if it makes sense, we have a next step. Typically, the next step is you bring your colleagues with you. We do a full product demonstration, and we discuss available plans. If after that call you feel there is a good discussion, I can send you my proposal, and then we book a call to discuss the proposal. And then if everyone is happy, we can send you the contract. By the way, I know you work for a large organization. Can you tell me a bit more about your buying process? And this is your opportunity now to tell me, like, you know what, all good, George, as you said, but before we go to the proposal, we need to sign an NDA, or before that, you need to get added to our list of official vendors, or you know what, we do not accept anyone's terms and conditions, we need to have a legal discussion. So this way I have a better understanding, not only who you are, who else should be in the future calls, but also how the buying process is. Now, if you do it this way, I'm not saying that people will start buying more, they might buy the same, but you will have a better visibility of their process. And if they don't have a clear process, then you set the process that they need to follow. So if I cannot send you a proposal today, because if you ask me for a proposal today, I'm like, okay, so you're happy? Am I sending the contracts? You're like, no, I want to discuss it. Oh, Lina, I sense there are some, hesitations on your end. What was that? So this way, you make this more conversational. They're more like artificial checkpoints in the process. That being said, be prepared. People just disappear. Be okay, close lost it without reason. But the rest, a lot of times when people invested some time and they did a couple of meetings with you, so not the mistake of one meeting and sending proposals and then waiting and hoping, because they also got invested, they will respond to your email like, you know what, it's gone. And one final remark here, the biggest reason why we lose opportunities is because of nobody. It's like the joke about who you think is, not a joke, about the question they do about who you think is the best prime minister and say nobody. It's the same. It's because the project got stalled, priorities changed, and these are the good cases where I mentioned about middle of the funnel, revisiting our former pipeline to go 3 or 6 months down the road, be like, hey, Olina, we talked last October about your needs to train, your team. Seems that wasn't the best time. Is this now a better time? And a lot of times, Olina will respond, hey, George, yes, it is, or no, but can you call me in the spring?
Okay. So now we have more questions, but I know that you have a hard stop.
It's okay. I have 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I arranged this. So I have 5 minutes. We can take 2 or 3 questions.
Okay, let's just go with the next one. Maybe we can move fast. So the next question is, if you can please share any of the business failures that with what you have practiced. So of course, it's not only rainbows, right? You must have.
Yes. A lot.
Okay.
A lot. So one of the failures is the following. Remember I told you we started with 1 and we went to 65 people. So there was a moment where on the outbound team, we had 10 people. And it started with 6. We did really well. We found something that was working. We hired 10. And I was like, next year, we need to go to 20. And I made the mistake not to push back when I was told, like, why not 50? Like, if the model works as you feel it works, we should triple down. And I said yes. And the problem was that I didn't understand the importance of how the dynamics change and how much more support network tripling a team would require. And while we took the processes to have the tools, to have some people to do trainings and more tools to educate and track and monitor and whatever performance, eventually it broke down. We lowered also the bar, so we hired people that they weren't like we were hiring 1 out of 20, and we ended up hiring 4 out of 10. so all these things created something that at the end of the day didn't worth the extra investment. I'm pretty confident now with the same amount of people, the 20, not the 45, I could probably do all the same results. So that's one of the biggest failures. The other one was that very quickly people get obsessed about tools. So they spend like weeks and months to buy all the tools they need to do prospecting, to do emailing, to do automation, to do. No, start with a few things, and when it works, then it's like driving. You don't need the best car, you just need a car to learn how to drive. And then once you drive, then probably you need a different type of car based on your needs.
Okay. And then another question is a little bit connected with the one that we faced before. If there is an effective way to overcome the influence of language and culture on the sales process in case you do not hire a local?
Yes. I mentioned that I don't like scripts, but having a methodology on how to do calls typically helps. Now, what I mean with that is that You don't use jargon. Like you help the person, a Greek, Estonian, Bulgarian, whoever, to feel confident about what they say. You also train them to do open-ended questions, so that you do less talking and more asking. Now, and because I'm coming from the software industry and we talk about software, it's always, easier. So I don't know if, the person who asked this question has a different industry, so might be less relevant there. But in reality, this is how software is sold and bought. So it's okay. People are already mature enough to do basic business discussion. Now, in some cases, though, like France, Germany, you'll find hesitation. You'll find difficulty. You won't find anyone to talk to in English. And in that case, again, it goes back to the ICT. So in Germany, I prioritize tech companies with international business, rather national big players. Like I wouldn't go to a German supermarket and try to sell. You can hire bilinguals or love immigrants, as I call them. You'll be surprised how many people fell in love and got engaged, married, or just being with a Greek person. So there are plenty of Italians, Germans, Dutch, whatever, in Greece, who, by the way, don't have a lot of good opportunities to find a job. And they are a perfect opportunity to come to work for your company based in Greece, but selling in Italy, the Netherlands, or whatever.
Okay. And then the final question, so we can then let you go, is from Andreas, and he's wondering if you have ever had salespeople who get paid only via % of the sales that they make, not through the regular salary.
No, and I'm against
Do you think
that,
that would be
honest.
a good? Okay, because the follow-up question is if you think it would be a good strategy. No.
No, because look, there are always exceptions. Like you have a person who works someone else and they can open 3 doors to you. You do enterprise sales. So you know me, for example, you need me and I have the right connections in the tech world and I just write 5 good emails and introduce you. And then if you close that deal, it's fine, but I'm not going to close it for you. So if you meant that, sure. If you mean like, hey, George, like real estate does that a lot. Like you go to work as a real estate agent, they'll tell you, you know what? You bring commission, we keep 60%, you keep 40%. And you're like, that's not a good deal. I need to pay, my rent next month. So no, I understand that sales can be expensive sport. We didn't mention that. Even if you start with a few people, you need to have some tech stack. You need to have a couple of stuff that it adds up. I understand it. But until you're ready to commit that money, you as a founder or you as one of the first hires, you should do it until you're confident enough to invest the money. But people should get a base salary, which is good enough to cover their month to month, and then the extra initiative to go a step further. And it's very competitive. So if someone comes to you and agree with that, then probably you didn't get a good person. Like it's super competitive right now to find good salespeople. And because of the nature of inside sales, a lot of good salespeople who used to work for good Greek companies with good Greek standard, based in Greek standard salaries, now are making 2 or 3 times more by working remotely for US and UK companies. And that's a good thing for everyone. But on the other hand, it requires a serious investment.
Okay, I would like to thank George very much. We can actually keep the webinar going a little bit because Mr. Papageorgiou, the Director of Innovation, would like to share something. So first of all, I would like to thank George for your time a lot. It has been super useful. We can share the presentation of George afterwards. So for everyone that has attended, we're going to send you the presentation. And of course, if you have more questions, we can connect you with him, or you can ask us, and then we can forward the questions to George. But thank you a lot.
You can find me on LinkedIn, George Gatos. Thank you so much for the invitation, Alina, again.
Thank you, George.
Pleasure.
Perfect. So, Mr. Papageorgiou, you can take over.
Yeah, I mean, going on what George has been saying and what the question has been raised by many of the participants, I would like just to show a little showcase of what we have experienced in the past of a remuneration scheme based on all the things we mentioned here. That means something that combines for a good business development people internationally or locally, the monthly salary standard, the excessive commission on target earnings, and on even remunerating them for finding new customers. So I'm going to be showing you, if you permit me, just for a quick share screening, an Excel. Okay, can you see, please?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the columns here. Okay, that I shadowed just now. We see something that remunerates the 100% of your effort as 100%, but also can give you money if you exceed it up to 160%. Okay. This is only for commission based. So let's start by discussing that this thing also gives you sales compensation, even if you're a good salesman and you had a bad year and you had a target achievement of 0. Okay, so in this case, you get a 2.8%, for example, of what you earned. That means nothing, but you still get 2.8%. And if you get 100% of your target, you get 100%. And if you exceed by 150%, you get 143%. This is something that, first of all, you set your annual sales targets. And then you have here something that will calculate the sales you will bring on the left according to a commission rate that you receive. For example, always play with the sales and the commission that you receive, which is normal. Okay. And then you combine this with your monthly net salary that you should get. For example, in this instance, this is a true example. The sales guy gets 1,268 euro. Okay. And he gets a calculation of what he brings by selling already existing stock merchandise, or what he's selling from direct selling to customers abroad from another company abroad and receiving some money from a smaller commission. So this combination, okay, gives him a total of 70,000 euro combined from monthly salary, monthly commission, and annual bonus. Okay, so monthly salary combination with monthly commission combination in order to keep him alive and kicking every month. And of course, always seeking the annualized target is something that you should seek for. Okay. And you can play with this kind of Excels, which is easy, having in mind also this kind of target achievement based on a bonus factor that you can, decrease the steepness of where you want to give money and where you don't want to give money. For example, if I change the steepness here to a 2.4, you see how the curves change. Okay, and that means that if he brings for example annual sales and he succeeds his target by 100%, he doesn't get 100% commission bonus, he gets 93%. You know what I mean? Okay, so you want to be as severe as you want following this kind of structure. And okay, you can always not penalize, but on the contrary, grant more commission to new customers. Here you see. So you see direct sales from new customers. Okay, if you expect him to bring 100,000, then your share of margin could be even 4%. You see what I mean? So if it is 2%, he receives less amount. If you increase this, you just ignite your salesperson to to work in order to find new customers. This kind of combination, as George said, that means always have a monthly net salary fixed, on a gracious level as you think according to your business. And again, give him something for monthly target achievement, always focusing off the total year-end picture of the total annual bonus. Okay, so I don't want to tire you with more of these things. I stop sharing correctly. Yeah. Can you see my screen again, or did I stop it?
Yeah, you stopped sharing, but we have one more question from Marios. If it's common for the monthly commission to be higher than the annual bonus?
The market commission, the monthly commission, you mean?
The monthly, yeah.
You can play as you want. If you have aggressive sales targets and you want to maintain your position, since you do have rivals asking to to eat your market share, and you run into an aggressive situation, then yes, this can be more aggressive. It's just a matter of how you want to expand or protect your business. And before you expand, first you protect. If you do have rivals, then you play the game accordingly. So it's all about strategy.
Okay. Great. Thank you a lot, Mr. Boyeriou. If we don't have any further questions, or if you have any, please, you can share them now. You can either raise your hand or just type it on the chat. If not, I would like to thank everyone a lot. Of course, if you have any follow-up questions, you can just contact me. I've sent you an email today to join. You can just contact us, or you can write to George directly on LinkedIn. And I would like to thank everyone very much for joining. And then we're going to see you soon on the next InnoAgora Talk. Thank you a lot, guys.